Louisiana Beer Reviews Special Edition KBC Porter Revisited. Again and again and again. I had this before and I didn't like it. 5.7% alcohol. That's a pretty good ABV. That's at the level of the Busch Signature Copper Lager, which I thought was way better than this. I like porters. Today is damp outside. It's kind of an uncomfortable chill, even though if you looked at the temperature gauge, it's not exactly too chilly. It just feels that way. Best before April of 2016. Okay, brewed by Shipyard Brewing. Kennebunkport Brewing Company is part of Shipyard. For the Trader Joe's stores. I bought this at... Wow! Yeah, they got twist caps that just fused onto the bottle. That's the only problem. Bought this at Trader Joe's in Baton Rouge. Now, my daughter said they're going to build a Trader Joe's in New Orleans. I heard about that, but I never saw it come to fruition. You might say, why are you doing another video on this beer? I started thinking about that, and I'm like, why not? I mean, what are we doing over here? If we doing some great social thing to make the world better? Or are we just drinking beer for entertainment purposes? Mainly for that. It's nice to learn about beer. It's nice to review beer, research it, talk about it, but it's not really that important. And so there's no hard and fast rule that I can only have it once and review it and maybe revisit it. Like John Sharon in Zone 1 in Indiana, we were talking and I said one time to him, I said, really, to give a beer a fair evaluation, you really have to review it like 5 times minimum. He said, I agree with that. So I haven't done that with any beer. So it's like I'm sharing this with you and you give me your comments, or you can ignore the video, whatever, you know. That's a hobby. Drinking beer and talking about beer is a hobby. It's not the hobby or the only hobby, right? I go to baseball games, I go to basketball games, I go to football games. I like to read and study about history. And do road trips and learn about different highways and learn about governments and countries. But beer is one of them. Okay, now this thing here though, the body seems so thin. Not that unusual for a porter, frankly. A thin head, cream colored. I mean, you can see through this beer. I can see a little bit. It's not totally opaque. It's reddish brown, dark brown, of course. I had the chocolate stout from Las Cervezas, Los Muertos Dia de Los Muertos in Tecate, Mexico, and that was so chocolatey and good, very good, B+. So you don't see a lot of porters these days. That style is kind of like been pushed aside because of stouts, but like Guinness says with their Guinness stout, it used to be called porter, and they considered a porter a stout porter. The aroma here is almost like non-existent. I'm trying to pick up something. Maybe a slight beer smell, like, you know, it's typical, like you would think of beer. Maybe a slightly dark roasted beer. So if the appearance is okay, the aroma doesn't factor in much. So let's go with the flavor. $5.99 at Trader Joe's for the 6-pack. You're gonna pay more for the single, like $1.99 or something like that. $1.59. It's a little higher, but hey, you want the single? You don't want to buy the 6-pack. A little char, brown bread crust, I guess. I mean, you do your best to describe the beers. They're not ever really what you're describing, but you're trying to find words, right? So a little bit of char, some bread crust, some You mean you could say like coffee. I don't think that's really it. It's got some bitterness. I guess on the sweetness scale it'd be 2 out of 5 sugar cubes, and bitterness would be 2.5 hop cones. I think it would pair well with some really sharp cheddar cheese on maybe Melba toast. The mouthfeel is light to medium. Now it has a little more body than that the Necromancer stout. A little more body, not a lot more body, just a relatively thicker body. But it's not thick bodied. It's at the most medium, at the most. So it's more like low medium. The finish is like powdery dry. It's not super dry, you know, like we always say Bud Light dry. Now that's a crisp, super crisp, ultra dry beer. I mean, I guess that's probably why it's so popular. It's just got such a snappy finish. This is going down that road, but this is not anywhere near that end point. It's not the greatest thing, but I think I might have been maybe a little too harsh previously, but still, I've got the Anchor Porter in the fridge, and I have a feeling this is going to just not measure up to it. But it's okay. It's good at the lower end of good. So let's say B minus. Now you might be watching saying he's trying to give it a higher score. I mean, I am doing that because I try to be fair and give these beers the benefit of the doubt. It's just, I don't know. Underwhelming. Maybe it's like there's too much char, bitterness from the char for the other flavors, you know, that there's too much of that when you in a ratio with the other flavors. So I mean, it's worth trying. A B minus for $5.99 a 6-pack is probably worth buying, but I probably would just buy like the Busch Signature Copper Lager, which you can get a 12-pack for about $8.50. I noticed at Walmart, so something like that. So that's a way better value, and it's a way better beer. So laissez-les, bon temps roulé, let the good times roll. Not necessarily with this one, but it's, you know, it's going to graduate. It's going to get a diploma, but it's not going to be getting any honors. Y'all come on down to New Orleans and enroll your children in Loyola University of New Orleans.